just making sure you didn't jump the gun.
You talked before me. What is that? Who jumped the gun? Hi, hello, welcome. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. Great to have you with us always. It's a Friday Eve. By the way, quick programming note. My good friend Carol Ross will be in tomorrow for me. And then I'll be back on Monday. And by the way, Brandon, there's a couple more days in October I'm going to be gone, but I'm not telling you when I'm leaving for those days. But it's
Don't tell me that the day before.
It's none of your business. How about that? All righty. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. We're going to jump gears again real quick. I got a Judge Marilyn Castle joins me. She wants to be the next Supreme Court justice. There's 7 on the court. There's only really one race because one of the Supreme Court justice races is already over because nobody ran, but this is an open seat. Anyway, good morning. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
It has. It's nice to
As
be
you can
here.
tell, you hadn't missed much.
You look wonderful.
Well, God bless you. Let's talk a little bit about your history now. You're a judge. Give us a little background.
Okay. Well, I've been a judge for 18 years in the 15th Judicial District, which is Acadia, Vermilion, and Lafayette parishes. I've been the chief judge of our district twice. I've been president of the Louisiana District Judges Association, and I'm also a member of our local Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee.
You've been a district judge for 18 years.
That's correct.
That's a pretty good run. All right, Supreme Court. I know I tell people it's something new, it's something different, it's something big, but it's the biggest court in the state of Louisiana. Why this particular position? Why now?
Well, it was not an easy decision for me because I will tell you, I really enjoy and love my job as a district court judge. And as you know,
By the way, can I cut you off for just a second? I just want to, I know you, but not from going to a courtroom. I just want to, Brandon's over there going, yeah, tell us about when you, I never went in front of her yet. Go ahead, Judge. I apologize.
But I do enjoy being a district court judge, and that is where people really get their direct justice. People don't have contact with any court except the district court judge because we are the trial court.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I've enjoyed the 18 years of doing that. You feel every day like you are touching people's lives, and it's a tremendous responsibility because every decision we make is going to affect somebody's life.
You hear people say everything's local. When you deal with district judge, it really is. You get to see everything, everything happening in your community.
Right. But when it became known that Justice Noel would not be running again, a lot of people came to me and said, we think you should run. And I really thought and prayed about it because sometimes, when you have great job satisfaction, you're a little bit worried about should I do something else. But this is such an important seat because there are only 7, as you said, justices on this court. It only takes 4 to make a decision. And the decisions that they make set the tone of the state, our whole judicial climate. The Supreme Court is responsible for, and in fact is the only body that can regulate lawyers and judges. So they set the ethical standards for the state, which should be high ethical standards. So it's a very important position.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's kind of a race. When I was living in Monroe, I remember going through a few of the Supreme Court judge races. I watched a couple of them get really ugly and really hot. Never understood that. But it's a race that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And I hate to say that because really, if you look at all the races in our state, I know the presidential race is important. I know the United States Senate race is important. This becomes really the most important race in the state, just in my opinion.
And I agree with you completely because this position will most directly affect people's lives and families and jobs, more so than any other. But you're right, people aren't really aware of it. One reason may be because the terms are 10 years, so it's not on the ballot very often.
Very often. Matter of fact, your protege here and my young buck over here, they don't remember really ever voting for a Supreme Court justice. I heard that conversation. They were talking behind me. They thought I couldn't hear, but I did. I thought it was funny because I'm a lot older than them. I've actually had a chance to vote. Somebody quit a term. Or one person was knocked out of it. Whatever happened, then they had to run.
I think that was when Justice Dennis got appointed to the Fifth Circuit, and they had to fill his seat.
Well, they filled the seat, but the seat was filled for like partial year, and then they ran against each other again, and it was the most political Supreme Court justice race I've ever seen in my life.
And it was an opposite result the second time.
Opposite result the second time. The one that won the first time got beat the second time. I mean, I remember that like that was yesterday. Yeah. But the normal races are like the one that's going on now. You're trying to get your message out. You're trying to meet as many people, and so as your opponent, there's only 2 people in the day, so there's no runoff. That decision is made on election day.
Exactly.
What do you feel like you bring to the court? I know there's a lot of people talk about activism in the courts. I've never liked that at all. I just thought if there's a law, and that's your job to either interpret or tell people what it is. Just your thoughts on activism in the judicial deal.
a big part of my motivation to run for district judge years ago was my displeasure with what I felt, a couple of things that were going on. I felt that my clients were not happy with the system, that they felt like the outcome of their case was going to depend on who they knew or what judge the case got assigned to. Yeah. And none of those things should be in any consideration for a decision. Often in 18 years, I've had to rule against people I really like, but that's my job. My job is not to pick favorites. It's to make a determination based on the law and the facts.
The way Bernie hugged you, I figure you must have helped out a couple times. No, I'm joking with you. I just had made a little fun about it.
Bernie's so nice.
I know. I had to make a little gig on it. But no, I see it because if you're sitting on a court with 7, and let's just say you had 2 that were against you, pro, con, right, left, it didn't matter, I wonder how that makes a person feel sitting there going, hold up just a second. I guess you agree with them when they're right and you disagree when they're wrong. Well,
to me, it's not difficult other than you have to have the courage to sometimes make decisions that, are difficult. But if you do it consistently, I think people appreciate the fact that you're not political, that you're not picking favorites, that you're just making a decision based on the law and the facts. And that's really what the job of the court is. And, our Supreme Court has even said it in an opinion that judges should not substitute their social or economic beliefs for the will of the people that is expressed through the legislature, and that's exactly correct.
But, when you run for an office like this, you still going to have the perception, I'm not talking about you, I mean, as a Supreme Court justice, if so-and-so's supporting her and so-and-so's supporting him, and that's Democrat and Republican, and you kind of get a gist of who stands for who. I don't care if you believe that or know that, in the public sees things like that.
Well, I will say this. To me, the most I love campaigning. I really do.
Do you really?
I really do. The only thing about it I find very distasteful is the money part of it. And
that's the tough part.
It is a tough part, and judges can't directly fundraise, so you have to have a committee to do it for you. But that's the only part that I really don't enjoy. But I will say this. The wonderful thing about it is that all financial reports are online. Mm-hmm. Everybody can go and look at them. They can see who is contributing. And I'm proud to say that 66% of my contributions come from non-lawyers. And I think that's very important.
By the way, you can address something else, too, because I one of my good friends is a lawyer. And I'm not going to mention his name. I could kill him half the time anyway. And I'm joking. He's really a good friend. But when lawyers give you money, that's the general public, because I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers are giving that one money. Lawyers are giving this one money. I mean, how do you handle that? You just basically say, look, people are going to give money. I'm sorry. They're going to give money. They're going to contribute. It's money is the milk of politics. I mean, if you don't have it, you can't win.
No, and, if you start paying attention to that and letting that influence you, then you're doing exactly what you're not supposed to do. And, I think I understand what you're saying. For the public to say, well, somebody's contributing, therefore.
Yeah, no, that's just the perception. I'm not saying it's reality, but perception becomes reality.
And it cannot be. But like I said, I'm proud of the fact that most of my contributors are not lawyers, because the justice system belongs to everybody.
It does.
And everybody should feel that that they're a part of it. I mean, one of my big motivations for running for this seat is that I really want the public to have more confidence in our judicial system.
Sure.
And in order for them to have more confidence, a couple of things need to happen. One of which is we have to have consistency and predictability. People, if a business wants to move here, or if a family wants to move here and make plans, they need to know that whatever the law is going to be applied to them, and that it's not going to depend on the whim of a judge to suddenly change the rules in midstream.
I get on a legislature a lot because of that one reason that hurts us. They change the rules of the game in education. They change the rules of the game in business. And people look at it and go, well, hold up. 2 years ago you were doing this, and 2 years later you're doing this, and 2 years you're doing it. And it's not right. But I do agree with you. I think it's a great example. They want the judges to be just as consistent.
They're right. They want consistency. And the other thing that they want is they want efficiency. People don't want to wait weeks and months and years for decisions. And one of the things I've done in 18 years, and, lawyers will tell you this is true, I almost always rule from the bench. I rarely take something under advisement. That's because I prepare very well in advance. But I think people want a resolution that day, and particularly if clients are in court with the lawyers, I like to rule because I want to look at them and explain to them my ruling, whether it's for them or against them. And I think that's what people want. They want transparency, and they want efficiency, and they want predictability.
Judge Marilyn Castle, she's running for Supreme Court Justice. It's the only race that's still on the ballot. There was one other one, but it was already taken over. Real quick, how do you take, and I don't know all your beliefs, I probably know some, how do you take what you really believe in and then go into in this particular position and then say, okay, this is what I believe, and this is what I believe to be true, but this is what the law says? That is a tough balance for anybody going into the Supreme Court, or any judgeship for that matter.
It is, but, that is our job to do that. And so, I don't always agree with the law, and I will admit sometimes I don't agree with it.
I would think you'd have problems with them sometimes.
But that's your job, and so you have to fulfill it. But I think the important thing is that, especially in a race like this, that people look at the records of the candidates. I've been a judge 18 years. My opponent's been a judge a long time. And candidates can say anything, but the real proof of the type of justice they'll be is looking at their records. How have they ruled? And, I think that one important part of being a Supreme Court justice is that you have a duty to do more than just decide cases. I think the Supreme Court has a duty to work to improve the justice system. I've done that as a district judge. I've been involved, as I said, with the District Judges Association. I've worked with the Department of Corrections to try to come up with better programming to stop recidivism rates. As part of our district court here, I fought for the allotment of criminal cases so that there would be true accountability on all criminal cases. And I think as a Supreme Court justice, there is also that responsibility. Right now, we are facing the fact that we are the highest incarceration state, and the Supreme Court needs to work with the legislature and the executive branch to address that. So I think
what they can do about it. I can see your point because you look at it from a different perspective. Exactly. as a politician and as a layman. You look at it from a different perspective. Let me do this. Only a few seconds left to go. Judge Marilyn Castle, she's running for Supreme Court Justice. She'll be on the ballot November 8th. Anything that you want to tell the voters, I'll let you do that at this time.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for this time. I really appreciate the chance for being here. I hope that everyone who is listening will vote for me. I think most in the listening area are familiar with my record of 18 years on the bench. I very much understand the gravity of this job and the confidence and that people would be placing in me. And I will pledge to everyone within this listening audience that you will never be ashamed of your vote for me. You will be proud because I understand the trust you're placing in me, and I will never violate your trust.
Yes, no doubt it's a trusted position. God bless. Thank you so much, and I hope anytime I see you, it's at the grocery store, at the radio station, at the football game. Okay. I don't want to see you at the court.
All right. Thanks so much for allowing me to come on.
Anytime. You're more than welcome. God bless. Thank you. All right, quick break. We'll be back. LSU football and more. LSU football. Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually Florida football. What they're going to do with the game. They tripping out down there. We'll take a break and be right back. Oh. Ow! Well, we're jamming. Hey, y'all, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. By the way, Brandon, two things we need to, we can do some mop-up stuff right here in this short segment. Two things. Number one, on my webpage now, moongriffon.com.
Yep.
We got podcast again.
Yep. If you want to go listen to yesterday's show, you can check it out.
Okay. I want to make sure it's, and I didn't even look at it yet because I let Brandon's handling that. If something messed up, call Brandon. Brandon knows that. But Brandon, seriously.
I care.
Seriously, the podcast is back.
Yes.
It's going to be a Monday through Friday deal, so you can get a chance to listen to it or pick it up, or somebody said something on the program. So that starts again, moongriffon.com. We're also getting ready to put a special feature on there. We'll get that as well. Yeah. Also on my Facebook, the powerful piece you sent with the shirt on the back.
Oh, yeah.
And that's on my Facebook at Moon Griffon. I want people to get a chance to check that out. Jennifer's already got that up and running for us, so we're good to go there. And number three, Cal Ross in tomorrow for me. I'll be back on Monday. And number four, the LSU football game is still on according to the Florida people. But, Brandon, that's going to change.
Oh, it's going to change.
LSU is not going to play Florida in Gainesville Saturday at 11 o'clock. I don't care what the athletic director says. And they released a statement saying that, well, we're playing. Well, yeah, we got all these people running from the coast. We got all these people in danger of a hurricane. They closed the school in Florida on Friday. No classes. So people could go home and get out of the hurricane. But we're going to come back at 11 o'clock on Saturday and play a football game. It's no reality with people. That's not reality. If that hurricane, now, if the thing turns, but they got to make a decision now, and I think the smart thing to do is bring it to LSU.
You have to.
The LSU fans are licking their chops. I mean, they're all over this, but I don't blame them. But all you do is switch. Next year we come to y'all. You may have to go to Florida 2 years in a row, and it's just the way it goes.
Or you can even try to bring it to the Superdome. The Saints aren't in the Superdome this weekend. I don't know if there's any concerts happening, but you could try maybe bringing it there. I know it's a neutral site still within Louisiana, or maybe go to Mobile, somewhere in the middle. You know, you don't have to necessarily go to the Lord Tiger Stadium.
Let me tell you the problem with everything you said. And I liked every idea you make, the Mobile, neutral site.
Yeah.
The problem with it is LSU is ready to host the game today.
Oh, I know.
Now the Superdome, I would think with nothing involved, if they still set up for the Saints game, that should be a no-brainer too. Yeah. They could do it really quick. But Brandon, it's Thursday. It's Thursday, 9/26/35.
Right.
36. 37. Maybe you get my drift. They got to do something quick.
Yeah.
And the big thing you do is they really don't want to cancel the game. And I was talking to Stevie P on ESPN radio over here. He said Florida can say they're not going to play. They're just not going to play. But they may talk all that head because the bylaws say they don't have to do that. And maybe they won't. But what does it look like to Florida? This is not like LSU went underneath the water and created a hurricane to do this. This is a natural thing that happens. Although Obama says,
I knew that was coming.
Wait till you hear the news report saying that Obama's climate change will stop hurricanes like this. I am not making it up, folks. We will play it for you. But that's a whole other story, I guess.
That's kind of scary. I just read your mind there.
I know.
I knew exactly where you were going.
But they did. They did. So anyway, what I'm looking at here is, Brandon, the smart thing to do, the only thing to do is just put it in Tiger Stadium. Yes, the Tiger fans and some of these writers are saying, oh, this is ridiculous. I believe they're doing it. They're doing that so they can get it to LSU.
Right.
And Florida wants the game in the swamp. It's like playing in Tiger Stadium. It's tough to win there, even though Florida's not really powerhouse this year.
But just for safety concerns of both schools, we talk about Florida. Think about LSU having to travel to Florida that's about to get slammed by a hurricane.
You travel into a hurricane?
I know.
I mean, what is this guys, these people doing from Florida? What do they think they're doing? Running for a presidential campaign? I mean, that's how much ignorance this is. I mean, why don't they just have the game Friday night? I mean, why not? But it's crazy. Just put it at LSU. LSU's ready to host another game. I guarantee you they can get ready and everything rolls on Saturday night. Okay, give Florida the gate if it's a big deal. I know it's a big game, it's a big gate. But LSU holds 102,000. Florida, I think the Swamp holds about 85. Common sense, by the way, has none in sports either, just like it's none in politics. We'll take a break, be right back. Hi, hello, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show, great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, it's your opportunity to be a voice. And on the Hickson has it hotline, Elliot Stonecipher joins me. Elliot, been a long time. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well, Moon. Seems like there's a lot of stuff going on these days.
Everywhere you turn, you run into something. I suggest don't walk backwards because you will hit something pretty quick.
That's true.
Of course, elected officials, to me, they run backwards. But anyway, it's beside the point. All right. Money may transform Louisiana and coast. BP money. Tell me what's going on with this.
You know, that article is, by the way, that's a Gannett
I see that
article. Ken Stickney is the one who actually wrote this piece. As you know, he was for a long time kind of the publisher of the Monroe version of the Gannett.
Yeah, I knew exactly who Ken Stickney was.
Gotcha, I know. The man in this article, I hope everybody will find it and read it. It's just fascinating stuff to me. The man who has been the administrator of our state's BP settlement from the BP oil spill. He's an attorney named Patrick Juneau in Lafayette. This is kind of about the work he has done for the state of Louisiana in securing as much money from BP as he can. And the reason that I find it fascinating is because we find out that aside from the fact that Louisiana stands to score billions and billions of dollars, and the number varies. It may be $6 billion, it may be $9 billion. But in addition to that, Moon, what you see in here is that some parts of the money, $200 million worth at least, have already been used by the state, by the governor's office, in helping to alleviate, the so-called budget deficit.
But you remember last year, Ellie, when we talked about this, we said they were going to use $200 million. They were doing the same thing General Administration was accused of doing, using one-time money, taking money and using it for this purpose when that was not the purpose of it.
Right. And now that we know that happened the way it did, it raises the obvious question. How much of the BP money is really about restoring the coast? And how much of it is Play-Doh for Louisiana politicians?
Mm-hmm.
It scares me to death that we're going to find out that there are a lot of things in the existing budget, and I'm talking about just the straight basic costs of the state,
mm-hmm.
where we're still running so-called deficits. I don't believe any of that, by the way, but I'll skip that for now. Here we have this new pot of money. We have confirmation that we can take parts of other revenue sources that are so-called running short, and we can replace that money with this sacrosanct BP money. If you can do it with $200 million, how much of it can they do? And here's my point in all this. And by the way, this Mr. Juneau, this attorney in Lafayette, the administrator, is making it very, very clear that he thinks this is an incredible windfall for Louisiana, that it has way, way more potential for the state than we're being told.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to agree with him based on the numbers that are in this article. I think as we watch this administration and their absolute addiction to taxes, as we watch, and tax increases, as we watch that play out, I think this is one of the things we'll be able to watch pretty closely. If they can reach over and hit this money,
mm-hmm.
instead of cutting costs,
mm-hmm.
instead of downsizing state government, which we're 35 years at least late in doing, then it's one more way that we will always know that they're not shooting straight with us. We thought they could spend $200 million out of the BP money, as you say, and then we were told they couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were told by another source that they could. Then we were finally told by a second source they couldn't. Come to find out.
And they did.
They did.
They did, correct.
And, look, who told us this story, man? Did Jay Darden ever tell us about this?
No, not going to.
Did the governor ever say, by the way, all these things that we tell y'all we don't have the money to do, wink, wink, nod, nod?
By the way, I hadn't even seen a Scott Angel commercial down here telling us they did it. I haven't. I'm being honest with you. Scott didn't even ran a commercial saying he didn't do it.
Yeah, I got it. I just thought this. Look, the article on its face is very important for Louisiana. I don't know Mr. Juneau. It looks to me like he has done an extraordinary job, and that BP did everything they could to run him off, but he's been the administrator since 2012. He's done apparently just an outstanding job, as has the judge. And I think the judge's name is Barbier. Somebody will correct me on that. But it's Carl, B-A-R-B-I-E-R.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've heard it's called Barbier. The point is, it took both of these gentlemen to hold the line against BP. We certainly don't want their effort to be flittered away or frittered away, because we've got an administration in Baton Rouge that has an addiction to tax increases that's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, Elliot, a question on that. Do you believe, and this is just maybe hypothetical, you may could prove it, do you believe all of run up of we ain't got no money, we broke, that's being told by the Gannett newspapers, the Advocate, Jay Darden, the governor, legislature, we broke. You think it's just a markup so they can get tax reform, which would be even higher taxes on the people?
I don't know, Moon.
I mean, it's a lie. I guess it's a lie. That makes it simple.
Look, here's what we do know. Unlike 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it is now in America, including Louisiana, which I didn't think I would see in my lifetime, it is now okay in America to just act as a political party, Democrats, as if we are already socialist, and that it is appropriate to take all the tax money that you can get your hands on, no matter whether you're telling the truth or not, no matter whether there's something fundamental that ought to be done differently. It's just the way it is now. And we didn't think that would happen here, but it has. So what do we know? We know to never, ever, 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 ever believe what they tell us about how much money they need.
Yep. I never
Until
have. Here's the
they
thing, me and you have
right-size
it.
government, and it hurts, then we just know not to believe.
It's the spending stupid. The flood is probably going to bring more revenue in. When you think about 110, 125,000 homes, you think about vehicles. I've seen a number of 75,000.
Yeah.
You look at every piece of wood, sheetrock, molding, but I'll go any further, go on and on and on. You saw the floods of the spring. This probably was more severe because it was more people. It was no more severe than somebody got flooded in your area. And you start looking at all that stuff and the spending. They're going to get a bunch of money in. And I think what it is to say, hey, in 4 years, look how good a job we did managing the money since Bobby Jindal. But the fact is we were helped by major tax increases, number one. And number two is from a flood.
Well, and let's mention this about the flood. Number one, I understand how many people were not properly insured.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scandal buried in that we're all going to wake up one day and say, my Lord, why didn't somebody tell us about FEMA and flood insurance and why people don't have it? But having said that, and let's remember that, it's important, we know a lot of people are going to have great difficulty making themselves whole. In fact, very few will.
That's a fact. That's happening now.
Right. Having said that, all the money that you just mentioned that is pouring into South Louisiana households to do whatever they can do to restore themselves, think about that. That's coming from federal sources. That's coming from private insurance sources. It's a lot of money that was not coming here otherwise.
Nope.
We didn't budget to have a whole lot of insurance companies, including FEMA and flood insurance. We didn't budget how much money that is that suddenly came to Louisiana. And I don't mean just the sales tax. I mean a lot of other ways, too. So we know that happened, just like we now know that BP ended up doing exactly what we were told, and then we were told we were wrong, all of which adds up to this. When that revenue estimating conference has its next meeting and comes out and tells us that the sky is falling, and that we have to raise the gasoline tax, we have to raise income taxes, we have to raise franchise taxes on businesses. When they do that, I hope everybody will just remember, now wait a minute, how can that be true? Especially right now. Maybe it's going to be true a year from now, but how can that be true with all of this extraordinary income?
Yeah, hey, let me take a break. I want you to stick on that. I got a couple key questions that I think you can really help us with. Number one, we got a Katrina effect. We had all this money come in and it was gone and no economy. And why does all the money go to the government and the people really need the help? Just your thoughts on that when we get back. Elliot Stonecipher, my special guest. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We take a break. Be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Elliot Stonecipher, my special guest, and the money going into Baton Rouge. How much money is really in Baton Rouge, and why all the tax increases and all the things they're going to use? Elliot explaining this. Elliot, let me ask you a quick question. Two of them, basically. You've done a great job of explaining the Katrina effect with the amount of money coming in and how we lost people. And some of those people came back, but we really lost a bunch of people. But we had a lot of money that was poured into our budget. Then we looked up, we didn't have the money to fix anything or fix our budget problems because we had added all this new money in that was one-time money. Is that the same kind of effect we're going to have again? Maybe not as big, but something similar?
Yeah. Why would we believe that they ever figured out that you don't spend one-time money as if it is recurring? The best example there has been in Louisiana history that we know of, and we don't know how budgeting was done after the Great Flood in 1927, but we know after Katrina, that's exactly what they did, and they put whole programs into state government funded with windfall one-time money that stayed in place, that had employees that then fought to keep it alive, and that's why we've ended up with these big tax increases. So my expectation is absolutely it's going to be done again, and I believe this administration will be no different or better, probably worse, than Bobby Jindal's in terms of letting that happen.
And I think don't you think it's really by design? They control the media. They control the media. What gets out in the media, what people read and listen to.
Exactly. And I mean, that's my whole point about, and you know this, that's our point about the legislature. I mean, we all know that government in any such democracy, let's just call it that for this purpose,
sure,
is always going to need three branches of government. You don't want to mix legislative, executive, and judicial. Our problem here is that we elect kings instead of governors. That's a huge mistake. What we did this time is the king was a Democrat and the legislative branch was Republican. So for 1 year, the legislature relatively stood its ground. They better dig foxholes now because it's fixing to get ugly.
I think it is.
This governor wants money in amounts and in ways that we have not seen in this state for a very long time.
But the problem is you got people that want the money right along with him, apparently Democrats and some Republicans.
Hey, look, 4 special words to always remember. In, on, the deal. The deal is raising taxes on people who work for a living and are taxed into oblivion already. The issue is how many people are in on the deal.
Mm-hmm.
All the employees, all the benefits, all the family members who benefit from that, all of their kin, all of the businesses that are associated. The number of people who are in on the deal to keep raising state spending is more than those of us who are not.
You know, Elliot, one of the great examples of that is going to be watch when the road. By the way, I think they passed the road tax. I think they passed it overwhelmingly. Watch the road tax that comes in. Watch your local community people that are telling people privately and in public, oh, we need this, this would be a great idea. And then they will be the ones that will benefit from it. I can sit here and name 4 or 5 right now that are for the road tax and will be 100% benefiting from it.
Well, it won't be new. We went through this when Buddy Roemer was governor. We put the money back. We did everything we knew we should do. We bid it. We swallowed it. Here they come acting like nothing that ever happened before.
Elliot, but to make a point of that, and let you touch on this, they're not going to tell us, which has been my big bickering about the whole thing with the road tax. Tell me what you did with the money you had all these years. Show me exactly where it's gone. There's not even anybody in the so-called road committee, tax committee, they call it road committee or whatever it is. They're not talking about that. They could care less what happened to the money. It's what we're going to do now, but if we didn't spend money on roads back then, what makes you think you're going to spend money on roads now?
Well, and look, I want to be categorical about this. People who think they know how nasty a business it is to do the politics of a roadway, they're wrong. Until you've been in the middle of seeing, as Buddy Roemer put it in that campaign back then, there's a lot more politics in a road in Louisiana than there is concrete. The DOTD is absolutely off the charts, wrong, ugly, nasty, in everything that they do that has to do with choices about where highways go.
Mm-hmm.
If you're falling back on what the highway department is telling you about what we need in highways, that's your first mistake.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100% with you. Let me jump gears with you on one other thing. Money, and you may or may not know this, but I'm going to take it you probably know. When we start saying the state's going to get $500 million, and they drop to, or maybe up to $2 billion, does that money ever get to the citizens who really need it? Or does it just go to the government to hand out to governments for their government response? Forget all the Christian churches that went out there and did anything, and they don't want anything back. What about money directly to people? I know FEMA cuts a few checks, but my point is, when you hear $500 million up to $2 billion coming, who gets that? What is that?
Well, the answer is yes. Some of it makes it to those for whom it is intended. And those of us who give a lot of money and are blessed enough to be able to do that, we make choices based on the very fact that with some research you find out who does not get the money to the people who should get it. In government, you don't have those protections. That's why I have always believed, and I still believe, at least 30 cents on every dollar is blown. I mean that.
By the way, you're probably being conservative on it.
I could be. It may be half.
Yeah.
But my point is, by the time everybody that's taken a piece out of it to make their deal keep it in place,
Mm-hmm.
a lot less of it reaches the intended recipient than any of us are ready to really accept. And it's a scandal. It is why people don't trust government, and they're right not to.
Yeah.
And that probably brings us to the Senate race, right?
No, well, I mean, it could be. Senate races, I think the Senate race is getting to be pretty interesting. As you know, everything has been concentrated on the presidential race. I've seen polls all over the place. I've seen polls everywhere, depending on who helped put them out. And I've seen the press run with polls that didn't make sense because it might have came from a candidate. I've seen everything under the sun on this, and I ain't getting involved in it. I'm going to let these ladies fight it out and see what happens. But I still think it's a Republican and Democrat. Do you see any way it's two Republicans?
I do. And look, let me give you a couple of stats just historically to keep in mind.
Okay, good.
And I know we'll get to revisit this, but we got 24 candidates in the race. That means that the magic number to make the runoff is low. I mean, my goodness. Think how many people can get, some piece when you got 24 of them.
Sure.
The good news about this race is that we can't figure out yet who's going to make the runoff. That could be good. It's also good that we find that David Duke is dead in the water.
Dead meat as
He may literally be at 2 or 3%.
That's
and that
where
would be
coming.
the greatest thing for us is that there could be.
Yep.
Remember this. In 1995, there were 15 candidates in the governor's race. I don't know if anybody even remembers all that, but Cleo Fields made the runoff with 15 candidates with 19% of the vote. Okay? Another one of note, nobody remembers these except some very few of us. By the way, John Kennedy included. He knows the number I'm about to give you very well. In 1971, when we had party primaries, there were 17 candidates in the Democratic primary. That's how Edwin Edwards was ultimately elected governor. 17 candidates. Bennett Johnston made the runoff in the Democratic primary against Edwin Edwards with 17.8. So, that's 17 candidates. 17.8 made the runoff. This is 24.
Wow.
Look, you could have somebody making the runoff with 14 or 15%. That means you got 4 or 5 candidates right now that could very easily be in the runoff.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. All right, we're going to do it again. We'll do it with the Senate race another day. Elliot, always, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, man.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Back more of the Moon Griffon Show right after this. Moon Griffon Show, great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. If you'd like to be part of the Moon Griffon Show. Brandon, real quick, the LSU Florida game, when is the announcement going to come? It's got to come soon.
About 1 o'clock is the last I heard, 1 p.m.
Well, that's what they need to do. They need to decide they're going to say that we're going to play at LSU. It's my opinion. How can Florida say we're not going to play? And who can be ready? It's just a no-brainer. You just switch it over and you tell your guys, suck it up, let's go win it in LSU. And LSU says, hey, we got a home game. They'd be pumped to have the home game, I can promise you. And don't forget to check out my good friends David and Bert at Shucks. Boy, we love Shucks. Had a chance to take some friends out there last week, and they really enjoyed Shucks. It was a great experience for them. And as one of my buddies said, that's the best oysters I ever put in my mouth. And we got, Brandon, we didn't do this. Next time we go, we need to do this. Of course, they got the great raw oysters, but they also char grill them.
Oh,
okay,
delicious.
you realize, but Brandon, the one you didn't try was the seafood one.
They got the seafood
now
one?
Listen to this.
Okay.
It's oysters. They char grill them. Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp and crab meat. On oyster.
Man.
And when you try one of those, you go, holy cow.
I think that'll give that candied one a run for its money. That candied one is pretty good now.
The candy one, of course, they got all the great oysters.
Rockefeller.
The Rockefeller. Actually, you can get a sample size of 5 different char grilled oysters. This one's not on that. You got to order this one different, but I'm telling you, Brandon, my buddy ate that and he went, holy cow, man, we ordered a dozen of those suckers and split them after we ate a dozen raw. So, and by the way, that was the appetizer because their crab claws are the biggest crab claws I've ever seen. Shucks is the real deal. You want Cajun cuisine? You down in the Lafayette area? This is in Abbeville. Go down 167 South. You run right into it. But Shucks is the real deal, folks. You got to check them out. If you don't live here and you come in the area, you're close enough to drive within an hour or so, you ought to make the easy drive to Abbeville and enjoy the great taste of Shucks. I guarantee you're going to love it. Don't forget, you can check them out in Baton Rouge as well. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. All right, Brandon, I can do this while you do that, and then we'll set it up. because I didn't want to play this. We got NBC. Ron Allen thinks the climate deal that Obama signed, you ready for this? And I'm going to let you listen to it, is designed to stop storms like Hurricane Matthew. That's right. They're telling us now that if we can only sign this big climate deal, we won't have hurricanes like Matthew anymore. How much you want to bet after they sign the deal we'll have 22 hurricanes in a row hit us? All right, here's the deal. I'm gonna let you hear for yourself. This is about a minute and 30 or 40 seconds. And this NBC reporter, Ron Allen, global warming, he's connecting global warming to Hurricane Matthew, just like they try to connect our floods. Well, a storm just sat there and dropped rain. Our system couldn't handle it. That's man-made global warming. Well, listen to what the it's the NBC reporter now, backing this president.
He believes so deeply in protecting the environment, protecting the climate. And this is something that he has been pushing for, arguably, for the past 7.5 years. And when you talk to the president, you hear him talk, he thinks that this is one of the most significant aspects of his legacy, that he has done something that unites the world around the goal of saving the planet. Now, as a practical matter, it's very interesting that this is happening on a day when there's a hurricane bearing down on the United States and in the Caribbean, because these severe storms, beach erosion, intense weather episodes that we've had are perhaps the most practical example of what the president is talking about as the threat that the planet faces. And this is what this whole climate agreement signed by 190 nations and now ratified by about 60 or so is designed to stop. A huge milestone, but a lot of variables yet, a lot of hurdles yet before it actually happens and before, in fact, the commitments are carried out. But for now, a huge agreement, a huge milestone, again, on an important day when a hurricane is bearing down the United States.
This climate change agreement that 190 nations, 185 of them wacko third world countries, but don't worry about that, folks. Marxist countries, don't worry about that, folks. All designed to slam the United States is what it is, and Obama does a great job of slamming our country. So did you hear the newscaster say what I heard him say? This agreement is designed to stop the hurricane like Hurricane Matthew. That's what this agreement. We agreed that the hurricanes are going to be stopped. And the only thing we have to do is pay mega amount of taxes. Don't use oil and gas and coal and all the natural things the good Lord gave us. And, dude, we're going to stop it. No more hurricanes. Well, I'd like to take that bet. I bet everything I had they can't stop it. And then they're going to tell you, well, it's going to take us 20, 30 years. And in 20, 30 years, it'll take us 20, 30 years more. And then we're going to have to keep doing this and doing that. It's all designed with ignorance. There's nothing man can do to stop one hurricane. We can't do anything. I guarantee you, if Obama told his people, if everybody would go to the East Coast and wee into the hurricane, we'd kill it. Everybody would probably go do it. This is the dumbest, nuttiest thing I've ever heard in my life. This was designed. And you notice the reporter? The reporter acts like a spokesman for the Obama administration. I thought that was a spokesman for the Obama administration. Folks, this was NBC. Ron Allen. This was not Obama's spokesman, although you would think. And by the way, they threw in a little bit of Hillary and believe in the same thing and keeping these same policies. We signed an agreement with 190 countries, 185 of them crazy, wacko third country, world country. But don't worry about that, folks. You know, when I see and hear things like this, I go, wow, I'm becoming a natural road scholar. By the way, Brandon, if you saw the hurricane model that said it may be going out and it may come back around a second time. That's basically what happened here. The storm just sat there and kept going round and around and around it went, and we kept getting wetter and worse and flooding and everything else. They are trying to tell you. This is from the Obama administration. I'd love to see one Obama night call me on this one and tell me how man is going to stop hurricanes from coming. That got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. One of them, if not the top, besides Obamacare and what they're doing at the borders. Can you believe people say that? This is a news reporter. You would think a fake Obama night would tell you that. This is a news reporter. It's an incredible thing to listen to and watch the left outright lie about this. outright lie about this. But that's what's going on. You heard the news reporter. So y'all believe that an agreement signed by 190 countries and ratified by 60, if we sign something and make it law or whatever we make it, that's going to stop what's happening with the weather. Oh, my God. As a matter of fact, here's what I would like to do. All these other, quote, advanced countries that have been all tied into this man-made global warming, let's go to that country and see how the weather's doing. You really believe that? Holy cow. I mean, and another thing, the news reporter acting like he's a spokesman for the Obama administration. All right, Brandon, did I hear what I heard? Okay. We'll go to the media. It's a meteorologist from Shreveport. All right, let's go. Let's go to Neil, who's a meteorologist from Shreveport. All right, Neil, you got me, man. If you want to lay me out, you can.
Man, Moon, you just cannot understand how much of an honor this is. I've known you, 20, 25 years. You just great, man. Let me tell you something. And only one show I can tune in, get a Supreme Court justice, LSU football, Elliot Stonecipher, and me be on the show. It's a good day in Zwolle, Louisiana, where we're here for the Tamale Festival.
Well, hold up just a second, though. And you can learn about what can stop hurricanes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
There is a study. There is a study to mitigate the hurricane. Now, listen to me, okay?
Yes, sir.
Take these C-130s, go up there and cloud seed them when they're out in the middle of nowhere, nothing, and let them burn out before they reach land. Now, that is an actual study, and I'm a little bit intrigued by that. But thank you for doing what you're doing.
Hey, Neil, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I would believe that had a better chance than somebody signing an agreement that if we do certain things, it will stop hurricanes like this. The news reporter, NBC, just said that.
Man, I couldn't believe it. I was like you, too. It's just in a minute. I thought it was coming from the White House, man. I said, I can't believe this. The lines of broadcasting and media and what we do have not been grayed over the years. They are obliterated.
Yeah.
You know that. Okay, it's a pitiful thing.
Neil, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, you're a meteorologist.
What? Yes, sir.
The climate, the weather changes all the time. Let me tell you, let me show you, and I'm going to throw this at you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe man-made has taken the Mississippi River and we diverted it, and we diverted bayous, and we came in with these plans for flood plans, and we diverted things, and it backfired. It didn't work. I believe in that, and that was man-made. But man-made, the hurricane coming out from Africa, and that's man-made, and we're going to stop that? We're going to stop that.
God did. No. And you make a good point about the Mississippi River. That's a whole other thing, which I am totally for what you're doing, but that's another subject. Let me tell you what God did. He made the earth 4.5 billion years ago, okay? There was an amoeba. It split, the whole thing. Okay, you got it. Hurricanes, now listen to me, okay? I'm going to give you a revelation here. Serve a purpose. Equatorial regions of the earth overheat, and they need to disperse that heat away from the equatorial regions, and you get hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons, what you want to call them.
All natural.
It's a natural process.
Yep.
It's all natural.
Yep.
And if you stop them, then you're going to cause the other inverse reaction typically.
Well, listen, Neil. The great point, but the Mississippi River made your point. We tried to do something with the river, thinking diverting it would do X, Y, and Z, and then we find out we have other problems with the coast washing away because it's not dropping those nutrients in there to keep it more of a freshwater right there where it grows stuff and protects the islands. That's man-made. That makes the point that you made.
And 180 degrees from them cutting all that stuff off, now pulling up the dikes and the jetties down there to let the water flow into those areas, to replenish those areas that are sinking, washing away, or going through a normal process.
Last question for you. I saw this the other day, and we laughed at it. I don't know how long we've been keeping records, and I don't know how long you can go back with your family. But they said the other day, they said,
Civil War.
Check this out, though.
President Grant started the national budget.
Okay, but they said that, and I want you to tell me how they can prove this. They said this is the warmest year we ever had in 115,000 years. So if you can help me with this one, I'll let you go.
The only thing that you could possibly point to, the fossils, the glaciers, and the ice. But again, it's only an educated guess, Mr. Griffon. It's an educated guess.
But you sure, Neil, you sure it's not an uneducated guess and propaganda?
Well, you're going to get it. You're going to get it firing off there. But and I did a news special after the flood down there. The Goddard Space Center got the attention of us with that 30 inches of rain that y'all got down there just to the east of y'all. Mm-hmm. NASA has more mitigation process going on than the National Weather Service, the Obama administration. Look it all up. I get satellite offers every week to do interviews with NASA scientists from the Goddard Space Center in the northeastern part of the country. It's amazing. Man.
I read from
Thank you for what you're doing.
I read one more thing, and I got to let you go because we're talking about tough on time.
Yeah.
But I read from the Farmer's Almanac, and I thought it made more sense about anything to do with man-made global warming than anything. And you may poo-poo the idea. They said there's certain times in the history that the sun's a touch closer, and at certain times the sun is a touch further away. That would really simplify why we a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. Any truth to that, or that's a bunch of bunk?
Aphelion, aperion, there's these Greek terms about it. We're warbling through space. We're not on a direct path, so there is something to that. But it doesn't matter. It's so powerful, and it's such a nuclear engine. And here I go again. I know you're up against a hard break. But that matters not, Moon. All it takes is the one good solar flare, solar storm, and the cell phone I'm talking to you on right now is not going to work for a month or two. I mean, all the satellites are gone, and we got to relaunch them, man. It's massive.
Neil, God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Hope you're doing well.
Tell Maddie hello. Tell Maddie hello, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Neil, God bless. Thank you. And I know exactly who that was. And he was an old friend out of the Monroe area.
Since y'all were speaking about the hurricane, it's now been upgraded to a Category 4.
Wow. And see, if we'd have done something 20 years ago, it wouldn't even be that off, according to this NBC News guy who's an Obama-nite. We'll take a break. Be right back, folks. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Me and Brandon still fighting over this Florida game. We ain't fighting. We actually going, what? And by the way, it upgraded the hurricane.
4, Category 4.
Back to a 4. It was a 4 when I think when it was beating on the Bahama and stuff. Oof. But, Brandon, you see what that thing's showing? Doesn't that catch Gainesville? That's about Gainesville.
Oh, and then it looks like it'll turn back around.
Well, they said it could spin back around and come back. And if it does, that's what happened to us. Man. We didn't have a hurricane, but we had hurricane range. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Real quick, I do want to mention my good friend Bobby John at J&J Exterminator. Look, everybody needs an exterminator. You've got to have one, folks. Okay, call the best. Call the ones that love Louisiana, and really, he's not trying to grow all over the country. He's a Louisiana company, Louisiana people working on each and every day. Why call somebody else? I vouch for them. I do, because they do one heck of a job at J&J Exterminator. Anything you need, termite inspection, you're getting ready to buy a house, build a house, or whatever, call J&J Exterminator. Get the best to come out and show you what they can do. I guarantee you, see that man, Bobby John? That's a good man, and he's got good people working around, and he's going to make sure you have everything you need to be successful with your house, your apartment, your home, or maybe a commercial business. You're looking for the guy? J&J Exterminator. They're the company. They're the company you need to call. All righty, one more time I want to play this again, Brandon. This is an NBC reporter. Tell me if he sounds like Obama's PR guy on this new accord they signing with climate change. Yes, sir.
Never mind. Now it's going back to a commercial. We didn't really have time, though, anyway.
Okay, no problem. I forgot we went kind of long on that, Brandon. My fault. Let's take a phone call. Bud in Baton Rouge. How you doing, Bud?
Hey, Moon. This is actually a good topic to tie in with what you and Elliot were talking about earlier. This global warming.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where you can go. The old movie Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Uh-huh.
Whenever the guy comes back from the future, and the psychiatrist is describing what he's telling them. And he says, you can't prove it, but you can't disprove it either. And it's the perfect lie. There's no way, and it's all based on...
But you know what, though? In all fairness, Bud, you can't prove this is a hoax. They told us 30, 40 years ago we were going to be back into a frozen time. Then they came up and said, oh, it's global warming, man. Then they changed it to climate change. You can prove the lie, and I think that's just what you said. You can prove it's a lie. They never will prove it's the truth because you can't turn a lie into the truth. And anyway, we'll get back. I think so. We got to take a break. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. We'll be right back. I turn to Miss Bernie. Brandon's left the building. Praise the Lord.
Oh, poor Brandon.
Hey, he didn't make it to the car yet, so you couldn't hear none of that. Okay?
Well, that's a good point.
I know he's not there yet.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bernie.
That's a good point.
Bernie, all right. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. All right, go ahead. I walk out and Bernie's fussing at me because she's got to clean up something. I have no idea what she's talking about. What you talking about?
You are a grown man. When you spill...
Hold up. That's a matter of opinion. Who you ask about that, by the way? That's a matter of opinion.
I was going to put you in timeout. I was so mad. Look. You left red velvet cake smushed into the carpet in 3 places, and I will tell you.
You're mad.
I have to clean up after my husband because I'm married to him. But when I saw that, and I saw you in the studio...
Enjoying life,
cutting up
well, let me ask this question.
In the moon party that happens every day.
Before I apologize, you said you clean up, you have to your husband. Did you clean it up?
Did I clean up that out there? Yes, I did.
What's the problem? It sounds like woman's work to me. Ooh, I'm getting ready to get burned now.
I already have a work husband. Rob is my work husband.
Forgot about that.
You and Brandon are like work brothers.
Yeah. Well, brothers, we get in trouble.
That's what I'm saying. It's the moon cut-up show all the time. And what does Mama get? Mama had to go out there and clean up after her big child. So... All you can say for yourself is, it's a good thing Miss Janet had a bottle of Hot Spot.
I know.
And a big roll of not toilet paper,
it don't matter.
Paper towels.
Well, you know what, though? The key is this. I didn't want to eat all that piece of cake, so I figured if I threw some on the ground, nobody would see it, and I could say I ate it all because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I'm sorry. That's what it was.
You are I'm never saving you a piece of my cake ever again.
No, next time I get some, I'll get a dang bib and eat it outside in the grass. Let the ants enjoy it.
Oh,
and Mike Grimsley would be coming in here and we got ants outside. Who ate velvet cake? I can see it right now. Oh, my God, they were burning me.
I have to clean up after my husband.
I heard this, folks. I went from a jackass to a fluffy ball when she was coming on a program. But before then, I was bad, and it was bad
I was
news.
mad for like a whole 20 seconds.
I know.
But then it dawned on me, I'm the only woman that really works here on this side.
You know what? You were mad at me.
I clean up after y'all all the time.
You were mad at me for 20 seconds.
A whole 20 seconds.
Can you come talk to my wife and teach her how to be mad at me for 20 seconds?
Now I know why she's mad at you, because she's got to clean up red velvet cake all the time.
And then Kathy Fuqua writes, tell Bernie I will make you clean up next time you come to my house. You did the same thing at my house. Gee whiz. Telling y'all, I got a woman problem, and it ain't what you think.
Kathy, that's funny.
Yeah. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Let's take a phone call. Let's go to Perry. Been waiting a while in Shreveport. Perry, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Moon, I wanted to tell folks about something constructive they could do by absentee voting. Do you remember when Matt Drudge broke the scandal about Acorn and trying to help some young couple set up a prostitution ring? And it was all a hoax. But the folks had a professional camera sitting a girl, and she claimed to be a hooker, and the guy professed to be her pimp. And they got Acorn to give them advice how to best set up a prostitution ring. I don't have a professional camera or a girlfriend that'll do that sort of thing, but
if you're married, my suggestion is don't get a girlfriend. I'm just telling you, don't get a girlfriend. That's just a bit of moonism right there.
Well, when you absentee vote, that frees you up to spend part of the day monitoring some of these polling stations where Democrats or Black Lives Matter activists or someone might be trying to intimidate the Republican voters, because there's going to be a lot of that going on, especially if this closed. Hillary's going to send her minions out to suppress
a little bit of that happens.
vote.
A little bit of that happens every day. I got news for you. When I go to my voting place, I don't care who is sitting there trying to intimidate me not to vote or whatever. I'm going to vote. They can shoot me. I don't care. At that point, I just don't care. I hope and pray that doesn't happen that way. But anyway, it is what it is. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it. Hotline. I am going to play the Ron Allen piece one more time. I got to play this. I'm sorry. You got that ready to go, Brian? All right, NBC, Ron Allen. Ask me. Let me know. It'll pop back up. Let me know when we get this if you think he's the PR guy for Obama or he's acting like a news reporter. But this climate deal they agreed to, they saying is designed to stop hurricanes like Hurricane Matthew. They want you to believe a signature on a piece of paper is going to stop that. Because the signature on a piece of paper means they're going to slow you down. You get it? Okay, here we go. You think it's coming this week?
He believes so deeply in protecting the environment, protecting the climate. And this is something that he has been pushing for, arguably, for the past 7.5 years. And when you talk to the president, you hear him talk, he thinks that this is one of the most significant aspects of his legacy, that he has done something that unites the world around the goal of saving the planet. Now, as a practical matter, it's very interesting that this is happening on a day when there's a hurricane bearing down on the United States and in the Caribbean, because these severe storms, beach erosion, intense weather episodes that we've had are perhaps the most practical example of what the president is talking about as the threat that the planet faces. And this is what this whole climate agreement signed by 190 nations and now ratified by about 60 or so is designed to stop. A huge milestone, but a lot of variables yet, a lot of hurdles yet before it actually happens and before, in fact, the commitments are carried out. But for now, a huge agreement, a huge milestone, again, on an important day when a hurricane is bearing down on the United States.
They could have stopped this hurricane had we done this 20, 30 years ago. It wouldn't be a hurricane out there. We could just cut out using oil and gas and using coal. If we can quit driving vehicles, quit having babies. I mean, we could shut this sucker down and not a hurricane would ever come through here. Y'all realize that? You know, it's an incredible thing. This is what a news media of NBC thinks they can tell you, and you're stupid enough to buy into this. By the way, some people are stupid. About 29%. There was a poll taken of the number of people that believe in this mess, and it was about 29%. That's probably the people that have to hear it all the time. It's just ludicrous. It's the way to stop the free flow of oil, and let me tell you something. You never want anybody to take over your energy. Look what happens with us every time something happens in the Middle East. I mean, I hear you the other day, 115,000 years. This is the warmest it's been in 115,000 years. Barney, I don't know about you, but I wasn't hanging around. I don't know many people who were hanging around 115,000 years. I didn't know they kept records 115,000 years ago. You know? And when I hear that phrase, save the planet, they're going to save the planet, folks. They're going to save it. All we got to do is pay 50% more in taxes, not drive a vehicle, walk everywhere we go, okay? Live in a house about 300 square foot for 8 people. Have less babies. That's all we got to do. All we have to do is be controlled by the left and boom, utopia like you've never seen. I just wish they would show us what countries living under one of those utopias. I'm just curious. Who? What country is having such a great time? No problems, man. Perfect weather. Never a hurricane. Never a bad weather. Never a drought. Never anything. It'd be nice to see that. Anyway, let's take a phone call before we take a break, and then we'll take a break. Trey in West Monroe. How you doing, Trey?
Fine. How are you today?
I am hanging in there, sir. Good to hear from you.
I was just going to let you know, man, United Nations has come out and admitted that the global warming thing was fake. They just didn't put it on the press in America. I had heard something on talk radio one day. I went playing around on Google because they were citing something I was trying to look up. And if you Google United Nations, climate change, and wealth redistribution, there's a half dozen transcripts on there of these United Nations people giving interviews with European newspapers. And they're not scientists. These climate change experts are economists.
Mm-hmm.
And they straight up admit that this is their first time to try. And the point of them spreading these false rumors is to stifle the economies of all the global industrialized nations, to drop our economies down, to allow these third world countries to try to come up for this globalization.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Third world countries won't come up. You don't take people down to make somebody feel better because they're so low. You don't. You can't rip somebody down to make you do better, to make you feel better. It didn't work that way. It never has and it never will. They can do this all they want to. The fact is, it's not going to work, and all it's going to do is destroy. And that's what I don't understand about the president. The United States never signed off to any of this thing until we got Barack Obama. Never. But I wanted them to tell me how they're going to stop hurricanes by signing this. They can't. Never will they be able to stop a hurricane. I'm telling you.
Right. I agree with every bit of it. You can Google it, and they are on there admitting it, giving interviews to these Swiss and Swedish and all, talking about how they're going to help save the world by taking pretty much the West and just deliberately killing our economy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, appreciate the call. Like I said, we better all standing on the East Coast, everybody, and we win in the wind and making the hurricane go away. But you got a better chance of doing it that way than doing it by this signing an agreement with 190 nations. And this little NBC reporter, he sounds like the spokesman for the President of the United States. Anyway, got to go. Burn, let's go and take our last break. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. No, the next story, Bernie, which you'd be interested in, Federal Election Commission, and gunning for conservative media. Gunning for it. Anyway, great story when we get back. Your calls as usual. We'll be back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon. You're going to have a blast with Captain Norm. He's going to get you out there. He's going to put you on some fish. It's a trip of a lifetime for a lot of people that have never caught speckled trout and redfish. Or if you're a person, a veteran, but you want to take some clients and customers, give him a call. He's very reasonable. And I'll tell you what, you're going to have a blast. He really will. I took Walker and two of his buddies one time. We caught like 50 redfish, and as quick as we were catching shrimp at the time, as quick as me and the cap could put a shrimp on, they were making a cast, rolling them in. I tell you, we never caught a fish. They caught every one of them. We had such a blast watching them kids, and you can have a kid event like that. It'd be a great thing for you. ASPECCharters.com, ASPECCharters.com. All righty, you got that piece?
I do, and you know how it is when you have a particular video that you want. Yeah. So let's see here. I believe it is ready to go. Would you like me to?
Yeah, FEC Commissioner warns Dems are gunning for conservative media.
Yes,
real quick. Bells would be ringing.
A key Federal Election Commission Republican warned Wednesday that liberals are moving to, quote, amend the First Amendment so that conservatives are silenced and businesses are chased, quote, out of the democracy. In some of the toughest criticism leveled at Democrats, Commissioner Lee E. Goodman said that the attack started once the Tea Party changed American politics in the 2010 election and now dominates the politics of the left.
I think that's pretty much it. And what they're going after, talk radio, internet media, and even certain books. So I'm just really concerned. I've always been concerned about this, that the left wants to, and I've said this all the time, they want to control everything except three things. They don't care how much drugs or dope you smoke or get drunk. They don't care how many how many times you have all the sex you want, and then they say kill a baby. And you can do as much as you want to. But when it comes to everything else, we're going to control your life. And that's what the left does in all these other countries. We're trying to do it here as well. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. So what they basically would do, if Hillary wins, and by the way, if Hillary wins, the fairness doctrine will come back. In other words, Bernie, you probably followed this. If you have 2 hours of me, you got to have 2 hours on the left. Regardless if a radio station can sell one bit of advertisement, you got to take a loss for them 2 hours. And what they're hoping to do is that talk radio will say, well, if we can't do it our own way, we got to do it the way the government wants to do, is we just shut it down. And that's really what they would want to do. Because the radio people are just like anybody else. They want to make money. They're not going to sit there and take two programs they make money on, two programs they lose, and bottom line is they lose money. They're not going to do it. And that's what the left wants to do. So it's amazing. They don't want free speech. They don't want you doing what made our country great. All right, you had a couple questions.